the Omicron variant has just appeared. It's now spreading all over the world. It's swamping Delta. We don't know exactly what it is. But why did it appear? Why did it ever emerge? Well, we have a pretty good guess, can't know for certain, but very likely because the rich and powerful countries, including Canada, which was one of the more extreme villains in this regard, simply monopolized vaccines. Canada, for example, took way more vaccines than it could possibly use. I think 5 or 6 times as many, I don't remember the details, and withheld them from poor areas, the global south, like India, South Africa, which have the capacity to produce, but don't have the legal right to use the processes to produce vaccines because they're blocked by the rich and powerful countries. In this case, Germany was in the lead, demanding that the corporations that produced the vaccines have total control over the processes for producing them. That's actually instituted in what are ludicrously called free trade agreements, which are in fact highly protectionist agreements, which guarantee major corporations unprecedented patent rights that never existed in the past, rights to hold on to their products for a huge period of time, but also process patents. They are, in the past, that wasn't the case. You could patent something you produced, but the process wasn't secret. Under the radically protectionist so-called free trade agreements, the processes are patented too, which means that India, South Africa, Iran, other countries that have pharmaceutical industries can't use them, can't produce them. So their populations have very low vaccination. It's a pool for the virus to mutate, and it happily does. It's where the Delta variant comes from. It's where Omicron comes from. That's where the next, possibly more lethal one will come from, because of the values upheld by the rich and the powerful. Notice that these are not market values. So the highly protectionist measures, which allow the big pharmaceutical corporations to make huge profits and basically set monopoly pricing rights, has nothing to do with the market. That's interference with the market, but interference with the market for the benefit of the rich and powerful. So when Canada and the United States and others monopolize the vaccines for themselves, when Germany leads the campaign of the rich countries to deny the global south of the ability to produce vaccines, that's following values. But we shouldn't mistake them for market values. The rich and the powerful have never been willing to subject themselves to market forces. They want others to be subjected to them, but not themselves. They have to be protected from the ravages of the market. The population generally has to be subject to them. It's actually what's called neoliberalism, extreme form of this. Well, we're looking at a concrete case right before our eyes. Spread of the Omicron variant, the next one to come, reflects certain values, not very attractive values. In fact, if we look closer, it even becomes uglier. Take Iran. Iran is one of the very few countries in the global south that actually has an advanced pharmaceutical industry, could produce vaccines, can't, partly because of the insistence of the rich that the pharmaceutical companies be able to protect their processes, but more, it's because the United States has imposed harsh, brutal, murderous sanctions on Iran to punish Iran for the fact that the United States dismantled the joint agreement on nuclear weapons. So therefore, we have to brutally punish Iranians with severe sanctions, which are murderous, of course, and which also prevent them from getting the kinds of materials that are necessary to produce vaccines that could save lives in Iran and elsewhere. Those are our values. And the European countries, Canada, actually they've objected strenuously to the US sanctions and to the US pullout from the joint agreement, but they obey. They obey. They're afraid of the master. Those are more values. So Europe can protest loudly about the American sanctions, but they abide by them because you don't want to step on the toes of the master. Those are our values.